Hello and welcome to the Matthew Allton Art channel again. Well, here I am again, sixth day in a row with the sixth portrait of my portraits in 7 days challenge. I'm getting a bit jaded at this point, to be fair, but I'm continuing and making progress. Today's portrait, I wanted to challenge myself again, not just do the easy option. So I asked a friend of mine to send a photograph of themselves. When you're doing portraits of people you know, there's always sort of an added pressure to get it to look like them. And I have to say I pretty much failed on this portrait in terms of getting it to look very much like the person. There's a passing resemblance, but it's not very brilliant really, to be honest. But practice should make perfect over the long term, so that's what I'm hoping really. There are parts of it that are right, but I think, as I've mentioned in many of these videos, and perhaps I'll do a video at the end that shows all of the work and what I learned from each one maybe. But again, the shape of the head is probably a bit wrong on this one. I think so far it looks quite like them, but I think the mouth is much too big. For them, it's fine as a portrait, but it's a little bit too big for the likeness to look right. I think, to be fair, I was sort of getting a bit jaded by this point of the whole process. Although the portraits only take an hour each, they're on your mind that you've got to do them if you've challenged yourself to do one every day. So it becomes a bit like a chore, I suppose. But I'm glad I've done it, and I'm carrying on doing it. And I have to say, flipping through the sketchbook of the portraits so far, it's great to have so many new pieces of work in the sketchbook. I do love looking through sketchbooks. I'd recommend anybody who's learning art to do regular sketching. Not necessarily a challenge like this every day, but it's lovely to have a growing body of work in there. And some will be good and some won't be so good. Sketchbook shouldn't be too precious. I think sometimes if you do a few good sketches at the beginning of a sketchbook, you're tempted to make it perfect, and every sketch has to be perfect. But I think I've got past that, and I'm happy if there are some clangers in there. In many ways, you learn more from the failures than you do from the ones that go well. So don't be disheartened if you do have a sketchbook and you make a few clangers in it, really. Using the same old tools, mechanical pencil, various erasers. You just saw me use the electric Tenwin eraser there. As normal, I'll put links to those, the equipment that I use, in the description if you're interested in purchasing those. Not too far from finishing now, I think. One of the problems possibly with this portrait was that it was quite flat lighting from above, outside light sort of thing. And it's always easier to draw portraits when there is side lighting with a shadow on one side of the face. That sort of thing helps show up the form of the person, really. So that may be one of the issues. It's always better when you're learning to use a good reference photograph. I'll perhaps ask for a better lit photograph in the future and try again at some point in the future. Here you can see I'm actually widening the face because I realised that there are problems with the shape of the head again, as I said earlier on. And that does help slightly in terms of making them look like who they are. Probably haven't widened it enough in parts and needs to narrow around the chin probably. But once you've done a portrait, looking at it like that critically is great for helping you fix issues in the future. Took about an hour again. They've all taken about an hour so far, which is fine. And that's it being signed. Well, here's the finished drawing in the sketchbook. As I've said, it's not particularly good likeness. It's a passing resemblance, but it's not particularly good. I showed it to the friend, and they said you could tell it was them, which is a very polite way of saying it's not that good. I think probably. But I probably will have another go. As I say, just because I'm doing a challenge doesn't mean I'm never going to do a portrait after I finish this challenge. And you know, if I have another go, maybe I can improve on the likeness going forwards. I think partly the mouth is too big, as I've said, and maybe the chin is a bit big as well. But it's good to be able to see those issues, as I've just said. Right, well, thank you for your time for watching. If you've been watching every video, you're doing very well. Imagine what it's like actually painting and drawing these things though every day. That is a chore, certainly. Right, well, I will see you on the next one, which will be tomorrow, and that will be the final one. And what will I do when I finish this challenge? I shall feel at a loose end, I think. Right, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.